International Valorant is always a spectacle. The best teams from all over the world come together to fight for glory and a slightly higher chance of being franchised. But looking back at last year's tournaments, there's something familiar with a lot of the upper placements of the tournaments. Every playoff run has been dominated by North American and EMEA teams, with other regions destined to fight for 9th place. But something has been changing recently, and the most recent international LAN Masters 2 Copenhagen has been one of the tightest and most interesting Valorant international tournaments so far, and pointing to the trend that the international Valorant scene is evolving. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Dome. My name is Dominic, and although the LCQ is just around the corner, I still wanted to debrief on the big Masters event that we just had. I feel like after the event, a lot of the videos coming out about the event are related to the revolutionary ideas about the economics of Fun Plus Phoenix, or the composition on Breeze being absolutely shaken. But from my casual perspective, I personally think that Masters 2 was a really cool event. I don't necessarily derive the most joy from diving into the analysis of individual plays, but more of the mosaic that is the Valorant competitive scene as a whole. And as a whole, I felt like Masters 2 was the best international LAN we've had so far. I felt that while watching it, but when diving into the numbers, it appears that way too. Going into Masters 2, there is a well-established group of teams that we should all know. You have your LAN veterans, teams like Optic, Crew, and DRX, teams that had made their mark on the international scene, making it to a majority of the LAN events. Then you have your newcomers, teams that's their first times trying to prove themselves at the international stage. And of course you have your rising teams, teams like PaperX and Loud, that have slowly but surely proved themselves as some of the better teams in the world. And okay, never mind. Entering the group stage of any tournament is usually lackluster, but Masters 2 saw a plethora of upsets leading to the finalists of Masters 1 meeting in losers round 1. On day 3, one of the tournament favorites collapsed to 11th place. This shows just how intense the international competition is. Now, with the exception of Loud, we saw the expected teams make it out of pools: Guild, Optic, FPX, and DRX. But it was when we got into playoffs that the expectations were thrown out the window. The previously mentioned PaperX made it all the way to grand finals through winners, eliminating Optic, Guild, and Fnatic on their way there. 3 amazing teams. LATAM's Leviathan took out Xset, and of course DRX had their usual 5th placement. But making their way to meet PaperX in the finals was FPX, which I don't think many people going into the tournament would have expected that. Rewind to the beginning, and FPX is struggling without their controller Suigetsu available to make it to the tournament due to visa issues. Now, the replacement Cider actually did pretty well getting them out of group stages, but it's really hard to replace an integral part of the team and perform at the highest level. They struggled in group stages, losing to DRX, but beating Xerxia in reception, and playoffs did not start off hot, getting dummied by their EMEA rivals Fnatic, and it wasn't looking good as they had to play EMEA's other frontrunner in Guild with only half of their power. At the 11th hour, he made it. With Suigetsu on the team, FPX went on a run through losers bracket, beating Guild, winning the run back on both DRX and Fnatic, and cleaning up Optic to meet FPX in the final. FPX's run will likely go down as one of the best losers run in Valorant history, playing the most number of maps of anyone at an international LAN, and winning the final crazy Game 5 nail-biter against PaperX to win the entire tournament.
Performing under the pressure, Suigetsu aims the reset! Absolutely ridiculous! And what a play! 4 kills for the final blow!
While watching the event, especially in the early stages, it felt like every game was close. Not just matches between title frontrunners either, but everyone was close. Now, me fanning out about the tournament and all the cool stuff that happened can only get you so far. There was a lot of interesting ideas that were presented during the tournament, both in-game with compositions and economy. So if you want to dive more into that, I direct you to Thank You Man's Valorant again, because he has a great series he was doing while the tournament was happening. Of course, go watch it after the video. But there's a few questions that I want to answer myself. What can we expect from international Valorant going forward? During 2021, international Valorant was dominated by North America and EMEA. But something is changing, because this was the most internationally competitive tournament ever. To rank the closeness of this tournament, I rated each international tournament based on 2 metrics. Percentage of close maps, where close maps is defined as maps decided by 2 points, and the percentage of contested series, meaning that series that go beyond 2 maps or 3 maps if it's a best of 5. Once compiling all the data, I found that Masters 2 Copenhagen was ranked the first in close series percentage and ranked only second in close map percentage, clear ahead of everyone with the exception of the first international LAN at Masters 2 Reykjavik last year. When plotted on a graph, it reaffirms the competitiveness seen at Masters 2 Copenhagen. However, if we look at this Masters 2 Reykjavik from last year, it's easy to pass it off as, oh, it's just the first tournament, but there's something else hidden in here, and that is the NA versus EMEA matches. There's this focus on an international event surrounding these two regions. They're the two largest and most competitive regions, so obviously they would be title frontrunners, but they dominated the 2021 scene, and it's not even close. At Masters 2 Reykjavik, North America versus EMEA matchups was a majority of the close maps, making up 58% of the total close maps of the tournament. Masters 3 saw 31% of total close maps, and Champions saw a rise back to 50% of total close maps. While yes, North America versus EMEA matchups is always a classic and has defined the global Valorant narrative, I want to illustrate how close Copenhagen felt by focusing on the international talent. By removing all North America versus EMEA matchups from the dataset, we see that 2021 has been reduced significantly, while events from 2022 are all mainly unaffected. This first graph illustrates that Masters 2 Copenhagen was statistically the tightest tournament that we have ever seen. I think this second graph shows that the competition was very spread out among different regions. Close matches no longer belong to North America versus EMEA, while other regions are left in the dust, but global Valorant is catching up. Optic, dubbed the best team in the world going into this tournament with back-to-back title aspirations, struggled not just with the EMEA matchup, but from Brazil, Korea, and APAC teams. I can confidently say that Masters 2 was the most competitive tournament so far. And if you missed the tournament, I urge you to go and check out some of these matches, and especially go check out the final match between PaperX and FPX. Now, I don't think that this competitive tightness is just a one-off thing, but a trend that international Valorant is catching up. When looking at the map win rate of regions from 2021, there is a clear top 2 with both EMEA and NA with an over 60% win rate, clear ahead of everybody else. This makes sense, as in 2021 they dominated the later bracket, collectively coming home with every international grand prize and filling 15 top 5 finishes with only 7 going to other regions. I know it's only top 5, but it's kind of weird with brackets and placements, and just don't worry about it. However, in Masters 1 and 2 from this year, the collective win rate from North America and EMEA has significantly reduced, with all other regions having increased, with the exception of LATAM due to Crew's great run in Champions and poor placements this year. Now, not only has the ceiling fell to where no region has a win rate over 60%, but the floor has also significantly increased, with no region having below 30%. Although EMEA and North America are still firmly at the top, other regions are coming. What's prompting this improvement from other regions? Well, to start, other regions are able to play against each other, and that really helps. Starting a team and playing against them are two very different things. The more you have to play against these top teams, the more you can predict their counterplay and learn how they'll use different tools in their toolkit. PaperX re-peek at every opportunity they get, pick nonsensical team compositions, and generally look like they're playing like they're in a silver lobby. And they got second at the tournament. That's because they understand their opponent. They've slowly rose through the ranks at international tournaments to where they are now title contenders. There's another thing influencing these higher placements, and that is the head start that North America and EMEA had is slowly starting to reduce. When Valorant was first announced, a lot of prominent CSGO and other TAC shooter players made the transition. While other regions had a number of TAC shooter players also transition, the shift was much more prominent in North America and EMEA because of the sheer number of initial migrants transitioning. Although they have a larger herd, as it begins to thin, the top players emerge ahead of the pack. And so do other players from other regions. Great players would be great no matter what region they play in. And I think finally finding these talents took some time, but they're finally here and able to compete. Finally, the last thing influencing these sort of higher placements is that our understanding of Valorant across the world has finally been established. As we refine our understanding of Valorant, it becomes common knowledge, and I think smaller regions can learn how to cook the cow instead of needing to discover the fire first. Certain cultures of Valorant, how it should be played, and the mentality that goes into it, develop as regions develop independently of their own, and when they finally emerge together at the international, it's a sight to behold. In conclusion, Masters 2 was sick. Great event, great storyline, great matches, and a great lead-in to Champions coming in October. But I think it also indicates that it's ushering in a new era of Valorant. One that's not just dominated by North America and EMEA, but we're gonna start seeing other teams rise through the ranks from all over the world. As we've seen with PaperX, as we've seen with Loud. Other teams are coming. The top of Valorant is slipping from North America and EMEA's grasp, and it might be as soon as Champions that we see a new crowned king. And where they're from, we don't even know yet. And as always, thank you for watching. I know Master 2 is just like a fleeting memory from now with the LCQ coming so close, but I want to get my thoughts on the tournament out before I inevitably have to make a video on the Sentinels. But thank you so much for watching. If you're into Valorant esports and analysis content, subscribe. This place is great for it. I recommend it. And I will actually be live streaming some matches from the LCQ, so if you want to stay updated on what matches I'm doing, when I'm doing, where I'm doing it, follow me on Twitter. It's a great place to follow me. As well, you can check out my Discord if you want to join the community and talk and chat. If you're just a fan of Valorant, it's a great place to be. Anyways, thank you again so much for watching the video. I appreciate it a lot. Hope you have a good day. As always, thank you for watching.